Every year I know we gonna go hard. We been that team ever since Bart started. All my cheese heads go pack go. Ain't show with no mercy, cutting no slack, no. I ain't a bad sport and I'll even wish you good luck. Only thing I will.
Good evening and welcome into Lombardi's Legends podcast. I am Wags, and joining me as always is Dane here on a Thursday early evening. We adjusted our normal programming time tonight. So for those of you that were able to adjust with us, we sure appreciate you joining us, whether you're on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter X live channels. Thank you for joining, and feel free to throw some thoughts in the chat. We're going to get into Packers 49ers divisional round preview here in this episode, but we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the team? What are your questions for this week? What are you feeling for this game? And are you excited as we are and ready to go? I can't believe we're only 2 days away from game day. And so, Dane, how you feeling, man? How you feeling with a big opportunity for some more playoff football?
Wags couldn't be more excited. Happy Thursday. We were just so darn excited about playoff football that we said, heck, let's just do this early, right? I mean, how good is this? Packers division round going to San Francisco. I get the feel, right? I understand Packer fans nervous going into this game and the history with Packer 49ers. But you know what? Throw all that crap out the window. This is a whole brand new team, right? And the Niners are a great football team. And I sincerely mean they are a great football team. But that being said, this is a hot Packer team that I don't think anybody, frankly, wants to face right now. So let's get into it because, dude, I'm pumped. And I dare everybody to bet against the Green Bay Packers because we've seen how that's gone for the last number of weeks. So let's get into it, Wags. Injury report. Let's predict. Let's do the whole thing like we normally do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dane, I'll let you lead off on the injury report. It seems like it's not much shorter than it's been most of the season, but it does seem like we're as healthy as we've been in a long time. So, why don't you start us out and kind of what your keys are? I think maybe start with Jair Alexander like we have for the last several weeks.
We have to start with Jair, and we have to say that, I mean, you and I were talking in our Packer group offline before this, and it's just apt. Matt LaFleur alluded to the fact that Ja was ahead of schedule this week compared to last week, but then you also made the point, yeah, but it's a game earlier, right? So, or a day, excuse me, earlier for the game. But that being said, it's how could that not be promising news, right? Because Jair, for all of the challenges I think we've all seen this season and the back and forth with Jair, when he's out there and he's engaged, he's a massive difference maker. We saw the interception last week early on. That was just paramount. Packers got points out of the interception. And the 49ers have so many damn weapons that we need to be as full capacity as we can be to beat this team. So, it remains to be seen how, if he's truly able to go. But Wags, I'm nothing but optimistic that he is going to be able to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's not really out on the practice field this week because of the ankle, but he still suits up Saturday night. So that's my initial impression. Do you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It's one less day with it being a shorter week. That said, it seems like most of the coaching staff was pretty surprised that he played last week and that they were able to get him cleared. And you saw that he had an extensive pregame workout in order to prove that he had the ability to get out there and play. Now, he did tweak the ankle, but from, as you said, from what Coach Barry said in his press conference yesterday, Coach LaFleur wasn't quite as forthcoming. It sounds like Ja's ahead of where he was last week. But is that a little bit of gamemanship? Is that actually true? Even if he is ahead, they're playing Saturday night as opposed to Sunday afternoon. So it's really hard to read into those comments. But Ja's going to do everything he can to get out there and play on Sunday. So I'm going to just choose to be optimistic on what we're hearing and what we're seeing. hope that he is able to get out there and play, because we sure could use him. And if he has the ability to make another game-changing play like he did on that interception in Dallas, that could make a big-time impact in this one. And we'll get into more of the breakdown and scouting report and some of the reasons why beyond the obvious. So, yeah, Dane, the other guys I want to talk a little bit about, I'm pleasantly surprised Isaiah McDuffie was able to get out there. And I know it's just a walkthrough the other day, but I thought that was going to be a longer term injury with what he sustained, and he came in to that game in Dallas a little bit dinged up, coming off the concussion and the neck injury from a few weeks before that. So I'm encouraged that he was able to get out there and practice. I think that's got to be a good sign for his potential availability, and not a small matter considering how many snaps he's been out there. And you pointed out sharing responsibilities on snaps. McDuffie's been out there on early down, and then it was Devondre Campbell out there in more of the nickel and passing situations. So clearly they are seeing something where that seems to be maybe playing to both those guys' strengths. Perhaps since both of them have been a little bit dinged up, it's a way to get their best and strongest attributes out there without knowing that maybe it's not wise to try to get them out there for 60, 70 snaps. So I think it's going to be, a big lift if Isaiah McDuffie is able to get out there, not only on the defense, but particularly on special teams, where he's just been a monster all season.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And what did you make, Wags, from last week with McDuffie and Devondre Campbell kind of intermixing in there? I'm not sure we talked too much about that, but I thought super noticeable that McDuffie was playing early downs and Campbell was playing those passing downs. And I asked that not only because of the impact last week, but now potentially with McDuffie being able to play this week, right? What does that look like? Because it's so critical to stop this San Francisco offense, and there's so many different ways that they can just gut you, that what does it truly mean to have somebody like McDuffie back, even if he's playing first, second down, those early down and distances? I mean, is that something we can expect to see, do you think, is more McDuffie in the early downs if he's able to go?
It's going to be interesting to see, because the 49ers, I will say one thing, they are able to run the ball extremely effectively from 3 wide receiver sets. And so they're going to be obviously a much different animal in terms of their rushing attack than what Dallas was. And oh, by the way, they can still throw the ball very effectively as well. So depending on what type of personnel packages they want to roll out there, they're going to try to create mismatches both in the run and pass game. And so McDuffie, if he's out there in those early downs, I think we might see the 49ers try to sub in and rotate some more of those 3 wide packages. Now, that said, Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback, is utilized on basically about 40% of their plays, probably the most used fullback by far in the league. And so, certainly when he's out there, I expect McDuffie to certainly be subbed in if Campbell is not. And so, but with the 3 wide receiver sets, then that's where we're going to try to create those mismatches where they might spread out a little bit, and suddenly McDuffie's got to be lined up against one of those wide receivers potentially. So the Packers are going to have to be mindful and have to be careful based on what they are looking at from reads, and make sure that they've got the right matchups in order to not get exploited in some of those personnel packages. So all that being said, Dane, I wouldn't be shocked if we see more, nickel in the base, and potentially even have an extra DB out there. The challenge, though, is that can hurt you even more in trying to stop the run. So I'll be really interested to see how Coach Barry and this defensive staff tries to adjust and play that chess match that the 49ers are going to be trying to do offensively. Dean, it looks like we lost you on the Instagram feed. Do we need to shut that down, or should we try to get you back on there?
Let me try one more time. I've been having a little bit of issues lately with my internet, so I apologize for that, Wags.
Okay. So for those of you on Instagram, and Dane is not on anymore, unfortunately, we're going to have to shut this down on Instagram. But if you want to jump over to our Facebook, Twitter, X, or Instagram, or I'm sorry, YouTube channels to continue with us, we'd love to have you join us over there. Dane, we're going to give this one more try. It looks like you might be able to jump back on. So we'll bear with us here with some of our technical difficulties, but it looks like we got you back.
I think my Wi-Fi is sponsored by San Francisco 49ers, so I apologize.
I'll give you a second to kind of get your bearings back. On the 49er side, before I jump over there, I know we've got AJ Dillon. It looks like he's a DNP, and I'd be very surprised if he's returning this week. But really, that's it when it comes to the injuries that, as far as we can tell, certainly we've got everyone's a little bit dinged up, but I don't think there's anything else that really stands out, Dane, that surprisingly enough that we need to be worried about. Obviously, we know that Inigbare had a more extensive injury, so he's not going to be in there. But Brandon Cox Jr. is going to get his opportunity, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Certainly feel horrible for Inigbare. He's been really carving a really strong role for himself in that second rotation on the edge. But Brendan Cox should have fresh legs. He showed a lot in the preseason, and he's been able to get the opportunity to continue to develop. So I'm excited to see what he can do this week. But Dane, on the 49ers side, I think the big news here is Eric Armstead. Looks like he's fully healthy, and he's going to be back. Now, this is a 49er defense. We know what they can do in getting after the quarterback in the pass rush. So Armstead's a big part of that. But I think even more importantly, Armstead is their best, stopper in the run game. The 49ers have been okay against the run, but I mean, really, it's because they've been playing with so many leads on a yards per carry basis. They're about league average to slightly below league average, but they're a lot more stout with Eric Armstead out there, and I think that's going to be a big key to what they're going to try to do this week, and that's slow down Aaron Jones in this Packer rush attack and try to make them one-dimensional. As good as the Packer offense has been with Jordan Love and as sharp as he's been, it's been Aaron Jones and the running game that's really balanced things, particularly these last 4 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Packers are able to adjust. And frankly, it's just going to be incumbent on this offensive line to have as good, if not a better performance as they had last week in Dallas. It might not show from a productivity standpoint, but they're going to have to play as good or better in order to keep Jordan Love upright and to give Aaron Jones just enough holes to be able to exploit and get some opportunities in the run game.
Spot on. Couldn't agree more, man. And I'll tell you what, this defense, it's almost unfair how good they are. They are stacked at every level. And I don't say that lightly. This almost looks like one of those Madden teams where you're able to do like a fantasy draft or something, because their defense, every single level is good in San Francisco. And I'm actually pulling up San Francisco's roster right now. But what I can tell you, because I know a number of them off the top of my head because of how good they are, Wags, it starts up front and it starts with Bosa. He is an absolutely he's a wrecking ball, right? He's a guy who can just dominate, but it starts maybe with Bosa, but it certainly doesn't end there, right? You mentioned, of course, Armstead, who is fully healthy, which is a huge boost for them. But it's not fair, man. Across the board, Chase Young is a guy who can get after it, and Javon Hargrave is another guy that can do it, and their depth is ridiculous. I mean, they've got a bunch of former early first-round pick guys that are also, they're mixing in for depth. So this is what I would say is a relentless pass rush, right? So it's really, really, it's going to be incumbent, as you mentioned, on this offensive line to be able to do everything and anything that they can do to keep Jordan Love upright. Because holy smokes, man, like they do come after it. And while it starts up front with their front 4 or so, Wags, it doesn't get any easier, right? Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are two other guys up in the middle of that defense that can just get after it, and it really does limit what offenses can do, right? And the defensive backs are tied. I think they're tied for first in the league in interceptions. I mean, this is a defense that is relentless. They like to have 4 down linemen get after you, play zone defense, and just beat you, right, with that pass rush. So with all of that in mind, I mean, are there certain guys that you think the Packers could potentially target? Or how do you see the Packers, at least initially, approaching the San Francisco defense in a way that they're able to, have some success this week?
Yeah, and Dane, unfortunately, your audio is disconnecting here, and I apologize, folks. I really appreciate you joining tonight. We're gonna get these items taken care of. My suggestion is, if you'd like to continue with us, I mentioned it a minute ago. I think we're gonna discontinue the Instagram live feed here in a minute, but if you want to cut over to our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter X channel to join us, we appreciate you following us there. Dane, if you want to just cut off for a second,
Yep.
and maybe rejoin the StreamYard channel as well, I'll just kind of hold serve here and continue that conversation until you rejoin. But